You will note the absence of the pug continues. His protest of being on camera continues. He is very, very distraught with his daddy for my comments the other day. Hopefully I will be able to make it up to him eventually with some other treats, such as meat sticks and greenies. But in the meantime, we must soldier on. And it is time for another video. And you will note my voice is lower, for the reasons we've discussed before. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. Good afternoon, Magic players and card collectors of all kinds. Welcome back to the channel. It is time for Super Deck Sunday. And for Super Deck Sunday this Sunday, we're going to do something a little bit different than the last couple of Sundays. As I said before, this is kind of like a deck feature day, where we're just going to feature a deck of some kind, one way or another. And today, we're going to do a deck opening. If you saw yesterday's video, you know that the tax man was kind of generous to me a little bit there. So I got a couple extra things for the channel, and obviously for myself. Don't get me wrong, I definitely play with most of these things. I don't do a lot of reselling, hence why I'm always kind of struggling. I've got like a massive collection of cards, as you've seen before many a time. But anyway, I love the games. It's what I do. So with that said, this was the other Commander Precon that I was really excited about. The Mardu deck is my third favorite, and maybe someday I'll grab that just to add a bunch of the cards from it into my Vampire deck. But for now, I'm pretty content just to have both of this one and the where are you? Why did I put you to the back? The Big Butts Precon, as I like to call it. I actually used that one in a match this morning. And when I say this morning, I mean at like 12:30, 1 o'clock a.m. And it was a lot of fun. It's a very powerful deck out of the box. And now that they've banned Seaborn Muse, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this deck. I'm probably going to keep it the way it is, and I'll just play in Bracket 2 if they'll let me, and if not, I'll play Bracket 3. But I still think Precons should be Bracket 2, and I still, as I've said many times before, think that Bracket 2 should allow up to one game changer in the decks, because a lot of Precons come with one already pre-built in. Alright, so let's see what's inside this one. I'm hoping to get into a bunch of zombie shenanigans. Always fun times. The thing I love most about the Tarkir Precons, though, is that I really like the display that it comes in. I think that's really cool. Wizards went a little above and beyond this time with the way they've set this up. I like the guild marks or tribe marks, however it's noted. I'm not really sure what we call those. But I love the way it's been set up this time around. And a lot less bulky, which is also nice too. I hate how much waste there is in some of the Precons that they made over the last few years, with regards to the box just being way bigger than it needed to be to accomplish what its goal is. We've got our box here. Very nice artwork on it. Very nice indeed. We got our Dragonstorm booklet about playing the deck, and ooh, the artwork on that's really nice. Can I get that fully on camera? Ooh, not quite. I might have to go sideways to do it. We'll do it like that. That's fine. Tival the Balanced Scale, and Cotis Sibsig Champion. Very cool. The Spirit Dragon Tival is pragmatic and brutally honest. She seeks to find weaknesses in others, both to exploit them and to guide individuals towards improvement. After rejecting the pacts of former leaders made with Rakshasa and the Dragon Lord Silumgar, the Sultai now desire impartiality. Nice. I like that. Checks on authority and a reaffirmation of their bonds with their environment. Ooh, I'm going to really like the flavor of this deck. The primary role is not to lead the Sultai, but to attribute the clan. There we go. We're supposed to call them clans. Acting as a monitor on the power of the Fangkeeper and other leaders, a balancing force. Nice. Cotis Sipsig Champion wants an unassuming human farmer from the village of Kishla. Cotis never intended to become a warrior or a leader, but when Silumgar's minions came to claim the village's harvest, Cotis organized a resistance driving out Silumgar's people and preventing the town's starvation. Cool. He served as Kishlaw's defender until his death, sacrificing his life during the Phyrexian invasion. Ooh, even better. I love when the Phyrexian invasion gets involved in some of these things. The grateful villagers, believing his time was not finished, enacted a necromantic ritual to bring him back as undead and an honored member of their clan. Cotis saw his second chance as a rare and valuable opportunity to continue his service now and for the eternity of the Sultai. So cool. So very cool. Put that up top with the other one, because I don't want to lose that. I'm really loving the flavor of this set. It's not going to be a contest for me. I'm definitely going to be playing the dragon as my commander. The dragon is just way too cool. We'll set that aside for afterwards. Alright, let's see what we got. We got our dragon, which is definitely going to be our commander in this deck, especially now that I know it's a she. That just adds to it for me, because I like having commanders that are females, as well as commanders that are males. I like a balance of them. So it's always nice to have extra ones for the female side, because too many end up being men, I find, or male figures. Anyways, 4/4 Flying Dragon. Whenever it attacks, I mill 3 cards, and I can return a land from my graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And whenever one or more cards leave my graveyard, I get to create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Cotis, the Sipsig Champion, costs 1 less than the dragon to play, but it's only a 3/3, and once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its cost. That I'm not super keen on. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put 2+1/+1 counters on this thing. That is pretty cool. So you can beef this one up, but I don't like the fact that you have to get rid of your graveyard to do it. Diviner of Mist, Flying. When this creature attacks, mill 4 cards, and you may cast instants or sorcery cards from your graveyard with a mana value 4 or less without paying its mana cost. Nice. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exiled instead. Cool. Afterlife from the Loam, Delve, always a fun thing. For each player, choose up to 1 target creature in that player's graveyard, put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. There's zombies in addition. Ooh, damn. Cost 8 to play, but damn. Deval's Judgment. Get in closer on that dragon. Beautiful dragon. Alright. Deval's Judgment. Whenever one or more land cards leave your graveyard, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, draw a card, create a treasure token, or create a zombie druid. Nice. Good enchantment. Welcome the Dead. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card, and lose 2 life. Create X tapped black zombie creature, druid creature tokens. I keep forgetting to say the druid part. Where X is the number of cards that were put into your graveyard from your hand or library this turn. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. I mean, if you do it at the end of your turn, you probably get a lot more out of it. Floral Evoker. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this thing. Decent. Discard a creature, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nice. I like that. And you don't have to tap that for its effect, you just have to pay a green. Cool. You can do it multiple times then. Steward of the Harvest. When this creature enters, exile up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard. Again, why do we want to exile stuff from our graveyard? Creatures you control have all activated abilities of all land cards. Huh. I wonder if that includes tapping them for mana. If it does, that's pretty neat. Will of the Sultai. Choose one. If you control your commander, when you cast it, you can choose both. Target player mills 3 cards. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. X is the number of lands you control, and it gains trample until end of turn. That's pretty sick for 5. Colossal Grave Reaver. Flying. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you mill 3. Whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put one of them onto the battlefield? Damn! This deck is going to be fun to play. Gravecrawler. Ooh, I like the new artwork for Gravecrawler. Can't block, and you can cast it from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. Life of the Loam. Return 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand, and you can dredge it for 3. Dredge is a fun mechanic. I do love dredge. Casualties of War. Ooh, you can choose one or more. You can destroy 1 target artifact, 1 target creature, 1 target enchantment, 1 target land, and 1 target planeswalker in theory. Nice. Amphin Mutineer. Ooh, cool, pirate. When this creature enters, exile up to 1 non-salamander creature. That creature's controller creates a 4/3 blue salamander creature. I have a feeling I'm going to be editing this deck some. I think there's some things I'm going to take out of this one. I really like the toughness-based deck the way it is. This one, I think I'm going to probably try and upgrade some, because the last graveyard deck that I got and didn't upgrade, I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. This one, there's some things that I could definitely pull out and change. But we'll see. I want to play it first. Back to the thing. River Kelpie. Whenever this creature or another permanent enters from your graveyard, draw a card. Whenever a player casts a spell from our graveyard, draw a card. And this thing has Persist, which is pretty good. Comes back from the graveyard after it dies, as long as it doesn't have a -1/-1 counter on it. This is the reason why this deck is supposedly going crazy in terms of finances. Dothy Voidwalker. It has Shadow. And Shadow is very annoying. Shadow is basically the equivalent of horsemanship. Some things I just don't understand. Like, Fear makes sense to me. Fear you can deal with. Shadow and horsemanship, really you can't plan around. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a void counter on it. Then you can sacrifice this thing, choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a void counter on it, and you can play that card this turn without paying its mana cost. And so basically the goal of this is to just kind of keep putting this thing in the graveyard, getting things that you've exiled back, and so on and so forth. Disciple of Bolas. Didn't mean to reveal the extra one ahead of time. When this creature enters, sacrifice another creature, you gain X life, and draw X cards where X is that creature's power. Cool. Decent. Junji the Midnight Sky. Or Junji. I'm not really sure which. Flying Menace. When it dies, choose one. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life, or you can put a non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control and you lose 2 life. Damn. That's pretty good. Lethal Scheme. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Each creature that convoked this spell connives. Ooh, Lethal Scheme is pretty good. Living Death is insane. I can't believe they reprinted that in a commander deck. Each player exiles all creature cards from their graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures they control, and puts the creatures they exiled from the graveyard onto the battlefield. Basically, everything that's on your battlefield goes to your graveyard, and everything that's in your graveyard goes onto your battlefield. Lord of the Forsaken, Flying Trample. Sacrificing that creature, target player mills 3 cards, pay 1 life, add colorless, but you can only do this to cast a spell from your graveyard. Huh. But you can do it multiple times per turn, which is nice. So you can basically cover the entire colorless cost by paying life to get your creatures back out. Necromantic Selection is a personal favorite of mine. I love this card. It came in my first Precon that I ever got, and I still think it's probably one of the best board wipes there is. Destroy all creatures, then return a creature card put into the graveyard this way from the battlefield onto the battlefield under your control. It becomes a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And then you exile this card. Necropolis Fiend, Delve, Flying, X, Tap. Exile X cards from your graveyard, target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. That's one that I can see using. That's definitely an exile effect that I could definitely see putting in this deck and it being useful. Definitely saves your butt in a pinch. Noxious Gearhulk is in this. That's interesting. When enters, you may destroy another target creature. If the creature was destroyed this way, you gain life equals to its toughness. Obnixilis the Fallen. Whenever a land you control enters, you may have target player lose 3. Ooh, shoot. And then you put 3+1/+1 counters on this thing. Damn. If that thing had flying, that would be insane. Tassiger the Golden Fang. Delve again. And you can pay 2 green, 2 and 2 of either green, blue, or a mix to mill 2 cards and return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. That seems kind of interesting. I don't think they're going to give you much of a choice, or they're not going to pick what you want, probably. Woe Strider is another one that I'm not really fond of. You get a goat. Hooray. You can sacrifice a creature to scry. This thing can escape from your graveyard, but if you do, it only gets 2+1/+1 counters on it. It's really not that great a card, in my opinion. Avenger of Zendikar, on the other hand, is insane in this deck. Enters, you create a 0 green plant creature token for each land you control, and whenever you play a land, you put +1/+1 counter on all your plants. Conduit of Worlds. You can play lands from your graveyard. Well, there you go, that solves that problem. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. That's an interesting choice. I like that. Multani Yamivaya's Avatar. Reach Trample gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land in your graveyard. Shit. Return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. Return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. Shigeki Jukai Visionary. Pay 1 and a green, tap it, return it to its owner's hand, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield, tapped, and put the rest in your graveyard. Then you can pay 2 green and XX to discard this card and return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. Consuming Aberrations in this deck too, of course, that makes sense. Toughness and power equal to number of cards in opponent's graveyards. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of the library until they reveal a land and puts them all in the graveyard. Gerard Golgari Lichlord. I like the art on that one. That's really cool. Pay 1 a black and a green, sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Sacrifice a swamp and a forest to return this thing from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. Lord of Extinction. Power and toughness equal to the number of cards in all graveyards. Whew. Meren is kind of a big hit in this deck. I've seen a couple people play this deck, and Meren is definitely the card you want to try and get on the field, apparently. Whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of your end step, you get to choose a creature card in your graveyard. And if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, you get to return to the battlefield, or you put it back in your hand if not. Command Beacon. Oh, cool. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. Nice. Saves you from having to pay commander tax. Crypt of Agadine. Enters tapped. Tap for black. Pay 2, tap, add black for each black creature in your graveyard. Ooh, shoot. Darkwater Catacombs. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or more lands. Dreamroot Cascade. Drowned Temple. Pay 3 to return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nice. So it's a land you can sacrifice and keep bringing back. Exotic Orchard. Fetid Pools, sorry. Cycling 2, and it's an island swamp. Enters tapped unless you control a forest or an island. Taps for black and green, but deals 1 damage to you. Island swamp. Enters scry 1. Enters tapped unless you have a swamp or a forest. Okay, we're through some lands. On to the next set. Essence Armor. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Nice. Create a 2/2 black zombie druid token when you tap this thing. Activate only during your turn and only if a card left your graveyard. Okay, but still, easy way to do that if you have your commander out. Arcane Signet. Beautiful artwork on the Arcane Signet. And the Soul Ring. And the Command Tower. All great artworks in this set. Forbidden Alchemy. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest in your graveyard. Okay. Hedron Crab is crazy. You get to decide who mills. The general idea is that you mill yourself, but I like the idea of milling everyone else too. It's like an extra little threat to just like let people know, don't mess with me. Holy crap. I'm getting pinged huge over here on Discord. My computer's open. I'm trying to get it to ready to do some work on my resume. Trying to get that second job still. Treasure Cruise. Wonder is insane in this deck. Give all my creatures flying, as long as I control an island and it's in my graveyard. Phyrexian Reclamation is a great way to get cards back from my graveyard to my hand. Reassembling Skeleton just gets itself back onto the battlefield. Stitcher Supplier. When this creature enters or dies, mill 3 cards. Dece. Victimization is a great spell. You get to choose what you sacrifice, and you bring 2 creatures back to the battlefield. For 3, the only thing that would make that even better is if it was an instant, but I'll take it as a sorcery for sure. Kishla Skimmer. Whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card, but only once per turn. Do you get that? Still good. Crawling Sensation. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill 2 cards. Whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere for the first time each turn, you get to create an insect. Oh, I have this card in another deck. I think I like the artwork in the other deck better, but this one's still pretty cool. Cultivate. Farseek. Grapple with the Past. Mill 3 cards and you may return a creature or a land from your graveyard to your hand. Only costs 2 and it's an instant. Harrow. Sacrifice a land as an additional cost. Search your library for 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield and shuffle. Oh, they don't come in tapped? Damn, that's pretty good. Opulent Palace, Rampant Growth, Secure Tribe Elder is a great one to get lands. And another thing that you can keep sacrificing. Satyr Wayfire enters the battlefield. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land into your hand, put the rest in your graveyard. Spring Bloom Druid. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped this time and shuffle. Terra Thunder is in this one too. Nice. Terra Thunder is such a great spell. So very versatile. Timeless Witness. When this creature enters, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. I don't like that fact that it costs 4, but... Grizzly Salvage. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put a creature or land into your hand. Put the rest in your graveyard. Nyx Weaver. Beginning your upkeep, mill 2 cards. Exile this card. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, it's okay. I like the fact that it has reach at least. Protects you. If you can't get Wonder into the graveyard, then you at least have something to back you up. Destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated. Putrefy is great. Skull Prophet. Filters for green or black. You can also tap it to mill 2 cards. Millikin. Tap it to mill a card. And you get colorless. Cephalid Coliseum. Deals 1 damage to your it. That sucks. But you can pay blue and tap it to sacrifice it, and target player draws 3 cards and discards 3 cards. Huh. Still, not a very nice land. Every time you tap it, you're going to ping yourself? That one's pretty good. The Gary Rot Farm is, of course, great. Haunted Mire is good. Memorial to Folly. Enters tapped, add black, pay 2 and a black, tap, sacrifice, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Decent. Myriad Landscape, Terramorphic Expanse, both with beautiful artwork. And then we're just into the regular islands, swamps, forests. The zombie druids are beautiful. Plant, insect, goat, timeless witness, plant, goat, zombie druid, insect, zombie druid, salamander warrior, plant, goat, zombie druid, insect, experience, treasure, plant, insect, and that reminder card that everybody gets. Alright, that is the deck. It is a pretty good deck. Like I say, I definitely want to play it first a couple times before I decide for sure if I'm going to change it or not. Because it's always nice to have more precons that you haven't changed just so you can play an actual precons game. Right now I have 7 precons I've never edited. 2 that I've only taken about 5 cards out of, mostly because they had gold in them. And then I have a whole bunch that I've changed. But yeah. You guys, of course, are not wanting me to forget about this, which is just sitting slightly off screen. So let's get to it. See if we can get the luck that we didn't pull in the collector booster. Because the collector booster was nice, but we definitely were looking for, you know, another fetch land or something like that. An Elspeth would be amazing. Another Civic Ceremony. I'm definitely considering putting that into my deck that I just pulled here, actually. That would actually be a really good card for this deck, I think. And... ooh... Purging Stormbrood. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink and hexproof until end of turn. That's the instant side. Too bad it's black and white. I won't be able to play in this deck, but I can play it in others. Flying Ward, pay 2 life. When this creature enters, remove all counters from up to 1 target creature. Decent. Decent. Alright. finish with a look on this since we can't have a look at the pug. Much love to you all from me. You take care. Happy Sunday. See you next week. Bye. Alright, so surprise, we're back. I know I just ended the video and I said I was going to play some rounds first before I decided to do an edit, but there was just something that kept bothering me about this deck, and particularly this card we pulled for the second time in as many days. And I thought, you know what? I need to put this card in this deck. There's something telling me that this card belongs in this deck. So I decided what I'm going to do is there are 5 cards I'm going to pull out, and I'm going to go over why I'm pulling them out first, and then I'm going to go over what I'm putting in. So, first off, I'm pulling out the Amphin Mutineer. Honestly, it costs too much to play it for what it does. If it targeted planeswalkers and creatures, or if it targeted any non-land permanent, this thing would definitely be in the deck. The fact that it only targets creature opponents control. Oh, it doesn't. It can target one of mine. But I mean, still. I can only target and exile a creature. I don't know. I decided against putting it in. That said, it's still in the running for a card that can go back into the deck. So I'm going to leave it over here. The same is true of this. I pulled out most of the Delve cards in this deck just because Delve, although it does trigger my commander technically, the amount of cards you would have to pull out in order to pull off the proper Delve trigger that you want to do, and then you only get 1 zombie for it, just didn't feel right when you can get 1 zombie per 1 land, for example. So I decided between that and the fact that it costs 4 just to do the 2 mills and bring back a card, and you don't even get to choose what the card is, I decided against putting him in. But, as I say, he's still in the running too to go possibly back in. This is definitely not. This costs way too much to put it into play in the first place, even if I want to delve, which I don't, because removing cards from the game in this deck really isn't the biggest point of the deck. I know the secondary commander does that, and it does it for a very particular reason that I think is beneficial to the deck. But for the most part, Delve is just really not a good mechanic, I don't think, for this deck. It's good in other decks, and I'll definitely use this card somewhere, just not in this. And again, the other thing is, it costs X to do the second part of the trigger, which I think chances are I'll never have enough mana just phase up to do that on somebody else's turn, because I'm constantly paying for heavy spells in this deck. So this one is definitely out, and it's not going back in. Same with Treasure Cruise. I've never really liked Treasure Cruise, to be perfectly honest. I get that I can remove 7 cards from the graveyard and basically just pay 1 to get 3 cards. And that is an awesome effect, don't get me wrong. But unless my deck really wants me to actually get rid of cards in the graveyard for some reason, I just don't feel like this is worth it. So there's very few decks I've ever run this in. My blue deck, I'm considering putting it back into because there's other spells I might pull out that don't draw as many cards. But otherwise, it's not in very many decks that I can think of. And finally, I'm still debating Foreboding Landscape. To be honest, the other land that I'm considering pulling out is, I'm just going to find it for you real quick. I should have pulled it beforehand, but I didn't think about it. Oh, I didn't realize this thing has a Myriad Landscape too. Yeah, there's just so many. That's the main reason I pulled that one, but is because it. Where's the other one that I wanted to? Sorry. Now I feel bad. I'm delaying you guys. Making a fool of myself. It'll probably be in the top 3 cards. Top 5? Top 7? It's going to be way down in the middle. Just to mess with me. Son of a bitch. Where are you? Yep, right in the middle. Okay. So, the other land I was considering pulling is this. and I'm still debating which one I want to pull, to be honest. The reason I'm pulling one of these lands is because I have another land that I really, really like that I'm putting into this deck instead. And it's actually kind of a bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to explain why. You'll see later on. I think this one is better because I can pay the 3 to return it to the battlefield, so it's an extra trigger on my commander if I manage to play that and trigger him in my turn. I can get 2 lands onto the battlefield and get 2 zombies therefore. Whereas this card definitely is a versatile card, and I might still pull Miriam Landscape, to be honest, out too. Miriam Landscape is the other one that I'm like, because Miriam Landscape, the cost just to get the 2 to come into play tapped kind of sucks. So I'm tempted to actually put, you know what, I am going to do that. I'm going to pull Myriad Landscape out of this deck. That's what I'm going to do. And then I feel a lot better. That is much better. Okay, so I pulled Myriad Landscape out, and it's not coming back in either. It can go in the spell. So, what did I put in the deck, you wonder? So, I put this in because I figured this is an awesome combo with, I kept looking at this card, and I kept thinking, I have another enchantment that is very similar to this, that creates zombies, and I think it's an awesome card, and I've never been able to put it into a deck because it just wouldn't fit. And this might be the deck to put it into. So, I decided to run a 2-card combo where essentially every time I'm going to cast a card, a creature card, I'm going to destroy that creature card. I'm going to create a 2/2 black zombie druid, and then when that creature card goes to my graveyard, I'm going to create a 2/2 black zombie creature. So I'll get 2 tokens every time I play a creature card, as long as both of these are out. And it'll cost me 2 less mana to play those creatures, which will help significantly reduce the cost of the heavy creature costs in this deck. Then I went ahead and I picked up a Leyline of the Void, because the one thing that has always held me back from playing this card is the fact that as soon as something goes into my opponent's graveyard, I lose this card. So going to all the effort of getting this into my graveyard somehow, just to trigger its effect, and then losing it, kind of sucks. So Leyline of the Void, if that's out, will prevent all my opponent's creatures from going to the graveyard. And because none of their creatures go to the graveyard, this will never leave my graveyard. So essentially it's a nice little 3-card enchantment combo that lets me keep producing zombies. And when you throw my commander in there, if I have a way to get things out of the graveyard, say for example my secondary commander, and cast things from the graveyard, then I'll get 1, 2, 3 zombies out of the deal. Just for casting something from the graveyard and sending it right back. Which means I can also get ETB triggers repeatedly off those creatures, because they doesn't have to exile anything in this case, which is awesome. So that is a really sick combo that I've added to the deck. The 4th card I'm adding to the deck is the West Vale Abbey, which is just an insane land for this deck. With all the tokens I'm going to be producing, I can easily put this into play and probably pay the 5 to sacrifice 5 creatures and transform it immediately into an insane beater that is virtually impossible to get rid of. And the best part is, even if they do get rid of it, as long as they don't exile it, it goes to my graveyard, and then it becomes a land again. And then my commander simply pulls it back out of the graveyard and puts it back onto the battlefield. So as long as they don't exile this creature, I have an infinite way of bringing it back and hitting people in the air for 9. Well, not infinite, but I have a successful loop to keep bringing it back. Alright. The final card, and the card that I'm iffy on keeping in the deck, is Oscar Rubbish Reclaimer. Now, the reason I'm adding this one in to replace one of these 2 creatures in particular is because It's another creature that will let me cast things from the graveyard. There's not a lot of ways to cast from the graveyard in this deck. But if I am discarding creatures, then I can immediately cast those creatures. This thing has a cost reduction in and of itself to get it onto the battlefield, which is great too. And the other thing about it is there's a decent amount of ways to do some discarding in this deck. There's not a lot, but there's a decent amount. I think there's a more chances of me at least doing some discarding effects. In particular, the one land that I actually had originally disliked a lot when we did the opening a few hours ago. The where are you? Blue land? Where blue land? Blue land. Of course, you're going to be in the bottom. Why not? Son of a diddly. There it is. The Cephalid Coliseum. I originally was very against this land. Now, this land has a really good chance of making a sick combo with this creature. And I can bring this land back again with my commander. So it's really awesome with just generating things from the graveyard to get the extra zombie onto the field. And yeah, so that's basically what I'm trying to do with this deck. I'm focusing heavily on the token production, which is a common theme for me. I really like token production decks. If you haven't noticed, you'll notice it when I do more of these Super Deck Sundays. But that's where I'm going to leave it for now. That's the upgrade that I'm doing to this deck. I'm not going to change any other cards in it, and like I say, there's a solid chance I might pull out that legendary and put back in either of these two creatures. Probably more likely him, just because I do like what he does in the terms of the exiling thing. I just find it difficult to necessarily be effective as much as I would like it to be. In terms of, it just doesn't target enough stuff. If it targeted more, I would definitely be playing that over the creature that I put in. But for now, that's all I have for you. Much love to you all from me. You take care. Thank you for looking at the upgrade part at the end of the video, and bye.